The culture is actually damn good.
We're not urinating on the fire.
You can stop asking that question. I'm going to be calling the defense.
What I talked to Russell about is none of your business.
Both games.
Surprises keep coming for Seattle. When left for dead, they clinched a spot in the playoffs and got their tanking accomplished by Denver. Now legends of the city are coming back for another taste of glory. Bobby Wagner was deemed lost after leaving for the Rams, but not anymore. He's back where he belongs, as a Seahawk. It's not just him either. Jaron Reed has returned to Seattle as well. Plus, they signed the likes of Draymond Jones, Devin Bush, and Julian Love. They can smell a push towards renewed relevance. And Seattle's found their man behind center. Honestly, by accident. Geno Smith was supposed to be a placeholder for the next QB to come, but he unexpectedly blossomed into the modern Rich Gannon. And thanks to that emergence, he's been rewarded with a payday that couldn't have been fathomed a year ago. 3 years and $35 million per year. Not bad at all. Kind of like this offseason. Not as insane as the last, but there's still plenty that needs to happen. I'll see you all come draft time. Godspeed, of course.
The Seattle Seahawks select Jackson Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State.
What you're now hearing is all of Wisconsin getting triggered over these boys taking the guy they were all begging their team to take. Weapons for Geno Smith. A priority for Seattle. Pairing Smith and Njigba with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett for a few seasons. And drafting another running back in the first 2 rounds. Somewhere Pete Carroll is salivating so much it's turning into a solid object he will use as chewing gum. JSN immediately slots in as a day 1 impact player. And if he succeeds, it'll be yet another victory against the Packers over the past decade. The best kind of wins are the long-range ones. Imagine saying that Geno Smith was the future of a franchise a year ago. That would have gotten you killed in many NFL circles. Little did we know that Geno would undergo his own Rich Gannon arc and commandeer the reins of one of the biggest surprises in football. Seattle pulled one massive Uno reverse card on us. No, we're not the ones that are gonna go to shit and lose our luster as a franchise. That's going to be Denver. This year there won't be the element of surprise to their advantage. Instead, they'll have to blow past opponents with skill. A 2-headed monster at running back, Jackson Smith and Njigba introduced it wide out the works. And Bobby Wagner's back where he belongs. Manning the defense. If the O-line and front 7 develop as expected, they should be a force to be reckoned with. If they don't, well, the division isn't all that strong, so the floor's pretty high. At minimum. First off, I believe there's a repeat winner in the NFC East. Philly takes it thanks to their offense. Sorry, Dallas. The NFC North, I'm going to kill myself in the future for it, but I'm picking Detroit. I think the Lions do it this year. Think that's crazy? I have Atlanta winning the NFC South. The only other serious contender here is New Orleans, and I don't trust them to stay healthy. NFC West, all things considered, is Seattle's to lose. This could change if Bosa plays and Purdy stays healthy, so I have them in a wildcard spot. The other 2 slots go to Dallas and Minnesota. As I said though, the final spots are anyone's guess, and that's the majesty of the game itself. Enough talk. Let's get to the football.
5:14, good. Everybody in? Okay, good. Welcome back. Good to see everybody's faces. Who drove over here? Let me see your hands. Who took the bus? Did you have fire in your gut?
Was this a throwback to 2021? If you were to watch this game, you'd think that the Rams were gunning for a title defense. First half, normal expectations. Seattle imposing their will on a team looking old and dead to rights. This should be a relatively quick recap of a game where the Legion runs away with a dub, we make some cheap jokes at LA and call it a day. But then the doink happened before half. After such a display of awkward kicking, the reverse card was drawn. Matthew Stafford spun the clock back 5 years as he skied the ball to an army of kids. What nagging injuries? He looks incredibly healthy here. Seattle's offense? Back to 2021 levels of shit. Geno Smith could not use his newfound magic against his foe. Hey DK, can you still not manage to name a player in the Rams secondary? Gave a cheap shot to one of them. I'll give you some names to remember. Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. They roll off the tongue. Are the Rams back? I want to see more before I say it. Week 1 can get pretty fucky. The last time Seattle played at Ford Field, it was a showcase where both offenses dazzled with the pass and the run. This time around, roughly the same thing happened. A team eager for a bounce back against a team eager to prove themselves as legit contenders. Well, maybe if they all stop fucking around with the ball. The first half was less a competition and more a comedy of errors and miscues. Detroit does enough to have the lead at half, but then proceed to lather the ball with rich oils to start the third quarter. Seattle responds with a touchdown. The salvo has been fired. The time for play is over. The errors will cease. Both offenses will get to work with the precision that they flashed last year. Crisis constantly averted with drive after drive. Unless you're Detroit, then you're forced to turn the ball over on downs. The Seahawks swoop in on that mistake and take the lead. Jared Goff is the guy to lead a counter. Until a pick six. He was going for that interceptionless streak too. We all jinxed it. Now down by 10, the old Lions would have bent over and died. But this is a Dan Campbell unit. They'll grind whatever energy they have left and will themselves back into the match. The defense will harden up and hold, and the offense will do just enough to get into field goal range and tie it back up. Overtime is the reward. This is where all the fun ends. Seattle gets ball first and slowly picks them apart on their drive. And then the dagger.
Smith to throw. Pressure from Hutchinson. Runs away. Great throw. Lockett down in for the end zone. It's over. The Seahawks win it.
Pretty rough loss, huh? Oh, silly you. There's plenty more pain to go around. They missed a holding call on the final play, on top of a few other questionable calls throughout the game. Zebras fucking Lions is a long-cherished fetish of the NFL. Just wish they'd be less open about it. Welcome back to the home of the 12s. Carolina, it's only going to get harder as Bryce Young's naked run of Dark Souls has hit a few snags. You'll have to settle for an old red rifle collecting dust in storage to take you anywhere. Seattle's without a good chunk of their secondary, so Andy Dalton will hold his own and try his best to will his corpse to anything resembling a win. Unfortunately, it's a one-dimensional attack. Seattle's, on the other hand, took a bit to get started, but will pick apart their opposition's defense with precision and patience. Slowly whittle them down, weaken their resolve, then strike for the kill. K9 was the star of the show in this one. Panthers unable to stop him or anything after they ran out of gas. It wasn't the prettiest win, but Seattle does enough to pull off the dub. Carolina just couldn't keep up in the end. Now only if the Seahawks would gain some consistency they'll be good to go. East Rutherford apparently wasn't satisfied with hosting what agonizing football game. They needed another to immediately follow it. Terrible football abound as only one thing is apparent. The Giants are ass. And I mean ass. Apparently Saquon and Andrew Thomas are the only things making this team somewhat competent. We're not watching football. We're watching a funnier version of the Bad News Bears. If you look to the 30-yard line, you'll see the remains of what once was Danny Derp smashed into puree on the ground. Behind something that's supposed to be an offensive line, they imitate the southern border by letting everyone in. The Seahawks had 11 sacks. 11. They had 5 in their first 3 games. Danny throwing bad picks in the red zone will do the rest. The G-men made this defense look like the 85 Bears. Seattle's offense merely had to stand there as Wink's units blue-screened constantly. We can safely conclude that Ed Donatel was out here playing chess last January. Last year was a fluke. Here's a free medium soda for the trouble. What is red zone offense? This is apparently one of the most pressing questions of the week if many games on the docket are to be considered. Seattle is supposed to have an offense that can execute in any given situation. Today they simply executed themselves at every conceivable opportunity. The Bengals offense did enough to start, but only proceeded to score 3 points in the final 40-plus minutes of the game. Seattle's defense had no problem stopping an injured Burrow and Zach Taylor's mystery box of goodies. But the Seahawks one-upped it with a masterclass of incompetence all their own. And it was in the red zone. Seattle had almost double the total yardage that Cincy had on the day, yet the end zone felt like a chastity belt. Nobody gets in, no one has the key. That second half was dog shit abound. Was it more Seattle having a terrible offense or the Bengals defense taking advantage of a weak offensive line and bad schematics? Is it both? The Seahawks should have won this game handily, but it was stopped every time because nobody can do anything in the modern NFL without express written consent. Except field goals and interceptions in the red zone, of course. It gets even more egregious, down by 4 deep in the fourth quarter. The red zone calls again. What do they get? Shipwrecked by the siren's call. God forbid the offensive tackles do their job and seal the edge. But wait, there's more failure to come. Cincy's offense has become pure shit, so Seattle gets another chance. And you bet your ass they fucked it up. You want to just stuff this offense in the trunk of a car and kick it off the pier. It's what this team deserves. You can't get past the Bengals defense, you're done. Bengals escape thanks to more Herculean efforts. That honestly sounds about right. Arizona's been playing the same game for pretty much the entire year. Is there any real point in going over them? We already know what they're going to be. The little engine that tries but blows up as it climbs the hill. Seattle is that hill. Or maybe they're the engine. It's a repeated issue of the Seahawks where the offense just sputters and continues to sputter. Feast or famine with this team. Mostly in the red zone, where they once again find new and exciting ways to struggle. Forgive me if I'm not ultra impressed with the Seahawks winning. Oh, the defense did well? It's the fucking Cardinals. They're nothing good. You should have won by at least 20, yet you keep treating games like Kevin with a chili. And until Seattle fixes it, the frustrations will continue. You're better than this, guys. Get your shit together. Deshaun Watson is a man under fire. He's out yet again, and accusations are flying across the board. Does he have the passion to play through his issues? Is he more injured than the Browns are letting on? Is PJ Walker just the better quarterback for them right now? At this point, all I know is that Seattle's pouring it on Cleveland's defense to start the affair. It's a nice breath of fresh air for an offense needing to finish drives, but the Browns aren't too far behind in their attack. They'll rattle off 2 TDs of their own to make it a 3-point game. And now the dogfight will commence. Defensive stalemates. Interceptions by Geno Smith. Cleveland imitating Seattle by being unable to finish the job in the red zone. Even when Geno throws another pick to the waiting hands of a Brown, they can't fully capitalize on it. Remember these goal line stands by the Seahawks. They'll be notable later on. Time will tick down in the fourth quarter. But neither offense can muster up much besides burning a bit of clock. Here is where Cleveland has the chance to upend their opponent. We're headed to the 2-minute warning. All the Browns have to do is gingerly walk the contest home and a win is there.
Pressure coming from Adams. And that's batted, and it is picked off!
So why the hell is Cleveland throwing on a 3rd and 3? They were controlling them on the ground. They had it won. Those ambitions were knocked away by Jamal Adams' helmet. Of course, this is when the Browns defense runs out of gas and Geno rallies the Seahawks to escape from hell.
Smith, screen, Jackson, Smith, and J-Buck looking for the lead, and redemption for the Seahawk offense! Touchdown! Seahawks lead!
You call that a tragic Browns loss? That's nothing. This kind of devastation is Wednesday for them. It's tough to swallow, but Seattle jumps out of the building before it explodes. They fly away to the promised land of the NFC West Division lead. Who the hell saw this coming 3 weeks ago? Seattle's making a push for the postseason, and they need weapons on defense to keep up with San Francisco. Unfortunately, they can't face the Giants every single week, but they can take a piece from them to help out. Leonard Williams is now a Seahawk. They had to give up a good bit to get him, but New York's eating a ton of his remaining salary, so that explains the increased draft capital in return. The G-men get rid of an unneeded part, and the Seahawks get an upgrade on their D-line. It works for both teams on paper. I've been quite harsh on Baltimore this year, but it's for good reason. Because at their peak, they can be a machine that rolls past legitimate opponents. The Seahawks have their warts, but they were made to look like a bunch of ill-prepared, untalented scrubs. Pure efficiency and excellence by the Ravens in every single facet of play. A running game humming like a bird. Almost 300 yards of rushing, including almost 140 of them by Keaton Mitchell. 500 yards of offense total. Their defense? Impenetrable. Seattle could do absolutely nothing. And it showed on more than just the scoreboard. It might be the Ravens' most convincing win on the season, eating their opponent alive for 60 consecutive minutes. You also got a fruit basket in the mail. San Francisco thanks you for the destruction of their rival. It gets them the NFC West Division lead back for now. We all know a classic pastime of the Seahawks is their heart-wrenching style of play. This is also a literal depiction. Seattle calls them the Widowmaker, and if it's not caught early enough, it could lead to the sudden death of the game itself. The warning signs are as follows: significantly outgaining your opponent on offense, sputtering near the red zone, and being forced to kick field goals. This is Washington, you know? Dead men walking, yet the game is dangerously close because Seattle loves chaos. Thank the Lord that K9 tried to put a stop to this with a long touchdown of his own. Notice that this is a Jack Del Rio defense. You can do damage against it at any time, even against Sam Howell, but he's used to it as he dies roughly every other play. Few more heart attacks from Seattle as they can do nothing to capitalize on such a bounty. Only a field goal to go up by 7. Despite dying repeatedly, Sam Howell does show promise as a QB, teasing and toying with this suspect defense all the way for a touchdown to tie the game again. Seattle must counter, and they do with a nice drive of their own. They don't stall out in the red zone, shockingly. They retake the lead. But with the defense they're displaying, there will be no safe harbor. Do you expect an easy stop to win the game? Not with Sam Howell, you ain't.
3rd down and 10. Howell scanning the field, throwing over the middle. It's caught at the 15. De'Ami Brown, he'll take it to the house for the touchdown.
Defensive coverage is what the hell is that supposed to be? The game's tied again. It's never easy with you boys, is it? That's enough toying for one day. Get to field goal range and end it for show.
Good snap. Good hold. Good kick. Seattle wins it.
You enjoy killing off your fans every chance you get? This feels like a fetish. How you should have eaten Washington alive only for it to come down to this? This is highly fraudulent. Wake the hell up and get your shit together. San Francisco would crush you with this kind of showing. I don't know why the hell it is, but Seattle always tends to have trouble with the Rams. At least since McVay got here, the Seahawks will either keep them in the game for way too long or lose to them in humiliating fashion. What happened here? The same damn thing. They keep failing repeatedly in or near the red zone. And it cost them on several drives in the second quarter when Seattle could have buried their opponent then and there. I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's a 13-0 lead. The Seahawks can cruise to a win easily. Do you know what team you're watching? It's never easy. There are curveballs thrown their way. K9 and Geno were lost for a good bit of the game. Some Seahawks fans out there got their wish. Horsecock Luck is out of the oven ready to sling fire. Incredibly inaccurate fire that makes you wish he was never cooked. Put his ass back in. He's getting a paycheck from the Rams with what he's doing. It forces the defense to bend under the face of adversity, giving up endless yardage to their opponent again, but they can blame everything on ref ball again this time. This pass interference was pretty ticky-tacky to be fair, but it's hard for me to have sympathy when you have 130 yards of penalties on the game. A good chunk of them justified. Maybe it caused the offense to suck ass under lock too. Maybe it caused Tariq Woolen to take an illegal use of hands penalty on a 3rd and 15. The Rams simply whittle down the clock to next to nothing, get near the goal line and kick a chip shot to go up by 1. Not to worry though, Geno's back on the field slinging again. Great, the Seahawks are getting bailed out of their own failures again. Just kick the field goal, end the game, and avoid reality for another week.
Kick on the way. Leaking right.
Or not. Every Seahawks fan and their mother is bitching about ref ball, but this loss was a hell of a lot more than that. It's another game where Seattle had their adversary right by the throat but refused to do anything to finish the job until the last moment. Self-inflicted wounds killed them more than ref ball ever could. With that schedule of theirs coming up, they needed this one badly. The Seahawks are looking mighty fraudulent, and San Francisco looms large. Prove me wrong, Seattle. I'll be happy to eat shit if you do.
You blew it, boy! You really blew it!
To any Seahawks fans that were pissed at me earlier, you don't have to question if I watched the game or not. I want my 3 hours back. What I saw merely confirmed my biases against their failure to reach their potential. Anything that could go wrong for them in the first half did and amplified itself tenfold. Offense stuffed. The defense destroyed repeatedly by the 49ers' assault. Muffed punts. Tariq Woolen benched in the second quarter. And a missed field goal for good measure. Doesn't matter what happens from here, too late to do anything against a team out for blood. It was a nightmare up in Seattle. But it's more due to San Francisco. Minus a few slip-ups, they showed us all they will destroy anyone in their path. To be fair, they didn't have to try that hard here. Not when you're going up against the epitome of Seattle's season. Shotgun on 4th and inches. Stop proving me right, Seahawks. May the questions and allegations be dodged by both teams tonight. I will say that the offenses have absolutely come to play. Who knew letting franchises rest for a full week increases quality of play? The defenses and coaching could have used more time, however. Deron Bland went from pick sixes to being picked apart on 6 passes in the first half. Geno and Dak could do whatever the hell they wanted on the field, with an efficiency rivaling a hive city. The punters taking a siesta in a robe and slippers. And the flags! There were so many of them flying you'd think it was the opening ceremony for the Olympics. Pretty fitting for the 2 most penalized teams in the league. Regardless of ref ball, it's an intense and competitive match. The Seahawks are clinging for dear life to a 1-score lead. This is mostly because Mike McCarthy gets confused when he counts to 10. But after a quick touchdown, Seattle can go for the kill. The defense manages to make a big stop in the red zone. Victory is almost certain. Sadly, it's never easy. Certainly not with Tyler Lockett's rare-as-hell drop. Then comes Shane Waldron's humiliation fetish. What the hell is this fourth down call? This is the definition of insanity. And the game turns on a dime. Dak reinforces his case for MVP votes with an impressive touchdown drive to take the lead. Cowboys jam a third straight loss into Seattle's chest cavity. The sun sets in the west as the Seahawks continually piss down their leg in games they need to win. Mike McCarthy's out here calling plays from a list of groceries and they still fail. Well, maybe if they didn't leave Micah Parsons unblocked in the final play, we'd be laughing at them instead. That was by design? What? Seattle's on a death spiral, but things are only getting worse for them. Geno Smith's nagging injuries are going to keep him out of this vital contest. The Seahawks must trust Horsecock Locke in a battle against an entire fucking armada. The thing is that Locke managed to hold his own for the most part. He wasn't firing balls wildly into the air this time around, which is tremendous progress for the man. The real problem was that they were playing against San Francisco. Being passable just isn't good enough. And the Niners crushed teams like this for breakfast. They did the typical San Francisco things. Huge splash plays on offense, effectively dissecting defensive units, allowing the stars at the skill positions to lay waste to all that oppose them. When you're up against a Seahawks defense that can't tackle worth a damn, it's become routine. The contest slowly got out of hand in due time. And then the real Drew Lock stands up for 2 turnovers as the Seahawks lose their 4th straight. An all but certain wildcard spot has been squandered. And while they've had a brutal schedule recently, Seattle has no one to blame in the end but themselves. So who's on the docket for next week? No pressure, boys, just the season on the line. The Battle of the Birds is now do or die for the Seahawks. And it's gonna get even more challenging for them. Geno Smith is active in name only. He's nowhere close to 100%. Drew Lock was awoken from slumber 5 minutes before game time and thrown onto the field in his robe and slippers. Did I mention he has to face the Eagles? If there's any good news for them, Matt Patricia is now calling the defenses. Philadelphia, I send my condolences. Not just for the horrors they'll experience on that end in the future, but because of their sluggish offense. We've been waiting all year for them to reach their full potential in that arena. We're still waiting. The unit has significantly stalled, the epitome of feast or famine in all aspects. People want to talk about banning the tush push? It's the most reliable thing the Eagles have right now. With their mercurial nature, the only fight they're showing is Kerfluffles imitating Drake Greenlaw on the sidelines. The fortunate thing is that they're playing the Seahawks and Drew Lock. Any other team worth their salt, even one starting Geno, and it's a rout. I haven't gotten to the worst reality of all. Jalen Hurts has visibly regressed. Could be the flu he was dealing with all week, but last I checked, that didn't cause a man to chuck an arm pump with momentum on a 1st and 10. Brian Johnson, what the fuck are you doing? The passing attack isn't anywhere close to being in sync, yet they still control their own destiny in spite of it. Somehow, it's never enough. 4-point lead and a chance to finish off their prey? You think this is the 2022 team? Philly's offense can't do shit and failed to punish Pete Carroll's idiocy. How can this get worse for them? A 92-yard game-winning touchdown drive by Drew Lock of all quarterbacks? Come on, it's not like that's gonna happen. They're not just gonna lie down and die easily. Right, Eagles?
Lock, end zone, it is caught! Touchdown, Seattle!
Oh, shit. Eagles fans, may I proudly present to you the Matt Patricia defense, featuring so much man coverage that you'll puke from the rainbows. Considering the Eagles have cornerbacks that have struggled in man this year, that's not a good formula. I know Patricia wasn't the major problem today, but that fruit solo, I have to pick it. Philly showcased their disaster of an offensive ethos and gifted Seattle the ultimate lifeline. With their pathetic schedule coming up, a home playoff game may once again be secure. But Philly is reeking of that 2020 Steelers stench. Just take your playoff berth and sit in the corner in shame. Seattle never makes this easy. If you followed them, even in passing, you know this to be an undeniable truth. Things should be a breeze on paper. The Seahawks are getting Geno back from a nagging injury. Meanwhile, Ryan Tannehill is getting his swan song as Levis is out with his own ailment. If you were to guess that Seattle played down to competition and gave their fans an endless supply of heart attacks for Christmas, you win nothing. This is what they do pretty much every week. King Henry's had a hard season. Fresh off his worst performance as a Titan, he reinforces that he still has some juice left in the tank. With his arm. God bless him. The Seahawks respond in kind with yet another failure in the red zone. Broken damn record. Their defense does stop Tennessee's red zone attempts, so there's a silver lining. Unfortunately, Seattle's down by 7 and the heart attacks keep on coming. Slow, methodical, grinding football is the name of the second half. Long marches eating all the clock in a feast of the 7-minute drive. More failures in the red zone for Seattle, go figure. But their defense is able to solve the Rubik's Cube of the Titans offense, so a chance is available to take the lead. It'll take 96 yards and a couple of lucky breaks due to a lack of discipline, but the 6 points are secure. The lead, however, is not. You thought that drive was long? Try an almost 9-minute, 75-yard display of superiority. Their defense was doing alright, but they can't stop them now if they tried. And even if they could, brutal penalties are foolishly extending it. It's too late. King Henry rumbles again to counter, and panic ensues. Now Seattle has to rush. And rush they shall. Scrambling to get yardage and traction, but they do get a lifeline. Thank you, defensive pass interference. But the red zone is a different beast, and they'll have to conquer it to escape this limbo.
Smith, end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown! Colby Parkinson!
Do you ever think about not making this so hard on yourself, Seattle? It'd be awfully nice if you didn't. Haven't you learned of the consequences of playing on the edge for so long? It is a win, I guess. Just get ready for Pittsburgh and move on. When the meaningless streak of 500 or better seasons is in peril, the Steelers go into overdrive. They will never let the narratives and hollow platitudes be free from life. As Mason Rudolph, the red zone reindeer, gets another chance to fight for an NFL job next season, Pittsburgh's finally playing like a team worthy of January. They straight up bully-balled Seattle in front of their own damn crowd. Every flaw of the Seahawks laid bare on a blank canvas. The terrible run defense, the poor game planning, the limitations of Geno Smith and the team as a whole. Their defensive front seven got shit-wrecked. They not only made Jalen Warren look elite, they justified Najee Harris's first-round grade. Being beaten in the trenches by this offensive line, allowing the Steelers' offense to dominate. I thought they were frauds 6 weeks ago? I was wrong. Frauds at least put up a fight. Seattle couldn't. Not only is this loss going to potentially cost them the playoffs, it unleashes the worst punishment of all. Another non-losing season for Mike Tomlin. Dallas get their modern version of the Super Bowl. If they're lucky, they'll get their asses kicked in the wildcard round. It'd be awfully nice if the Seahawks could ever not be the Steelers of the NFC. Continually mediocre, dancing through endless bullshit in spite of themselves and not bad enough to force significant change in the organization. The flaws of Seattle have been pushed down your throat over and over, so no point in doing that. Simply letting them fail to take advantage of a Cardinals team picking up the pieces should do the trick. Against any other team, the Seahawks die swiftly, especially with how awful this defense is. Elite guard unit, sure, maybe the Iraqis. They also gave up shit tons of land without a fight. With it being a 7-point deficit late, an embarrassing defeat is in sight. It's fortunate for them that this is Arizona and their defense is weak. Best for the Seahawks to learn absolutely nothing and get bailed out by talent like they usually do. Geno Smith setting the single-season record for most go-ahead TDs late is more than enough proof of that. They even went for 2 to take the lead. But they may have left too much time on the board. Kyler's leading Arizona on a bit of a drive, taking them to the fringes of field goal range. Even if it's a long shot, the Cards have the chance to do something truly hilarious.
Good snap. The hold is good. The kick is wide to the right. It's no good.
Of course, we can't trust Arizona to do anything of note. Seattle, like usual, escapes with a chance at life. Well, boys, it's time to root for the Bears. Well, Seattle, what do you have to say for yourselves? You had a golden opportunity to seize the division earlier in the year, and you did nothing but light cigars while pissing down your leg. People gave me shit for saying it beforehand, but I'll do so with vindication now. You are fucking frauds. I was seriously expecting this team to take a big jump to contending status this year. That's what makes me the most pissed about the Seahawks. My anger for them doesn't come from hate, but an idea that they should be better than what they are. Their games against the Rams opened my eyes. 12s can blame ref ball all they want, but those losses were by their own hand. It revealed to me a cold fact. They are frauds. Pure, unadulterated frauds that haven't come close to achieving what they should. You fail in the red zone repeatedly, that's just a weakness. When your run defense is terrible to the point of being notorious, that's a deep concern. When you're horrifically undisciplined to the point where it kneecaps the franchise, that's a trend. This organization has stalled. Gino's flaws are becoming apparent, and the offense turned into fuck it, DK's open somewhere after injuries to K9. That and more is why they turned into a paper tiger against the elite of the league. And the Rams. Losing 4 straight in the middle of the year killed them. And treading water has forced their hand. Pete Carroll has chewed his last wad of gum as head coach of Seattle. They had to drag him off kicking and screaming. It really is the end of an era. A necessary end. A new mantle has been forged as Mike McDonald has taken the reins. He did marvelous work in Baltimore, but this is his true test. Seattle still has upside for the future, but they need to look within and see if this team can really compete for another Super Bowl as constructed. On the defensive front, Tariq Woolen regressed significantly, among many others. It's not a dire position, but I'm just disappointed. Maybe I'm overreacting, I don't know.